Hey guys, welcome back to Zero's Maverick Hunting. As you can tell, I like me some Power Rangers. Yes, my obsession with the American tokusatsu series that uses Japanese footage of colorful heroes and spandex fighting rubber-suited monsters is a little crazy. Even if I'm not up to date with the show. Or the Sentai. Or Kamen Rider. I got busy, okay? My life aside, we're kind of in an upswing of Toei brand tokusatsu right now. Except for Ninja. Sucks. And hell, a new Power Rangers motion picture just got released, which I have mixed feelings on. Either way, I feel like it's the perfect time to review some Mighty Morphin Power Rangers games, so I'm going to review all the ones I have access to in this 12-game mega review. I said mega review, not mega force, calm down. Anyways, without further ado, it's Morphin time! Before we begin, let me start this off by explaining how these reviews will be going. These will not be full reviews of each game, as that would make this an extremely long video, and I don't think I can spend hours talking about each game. Also, I'm not SCXCR. I just don't do hour-long reviews. Sorry. Another note I'd like to make is I did complete most of these games, some with help, and others completely on my own, so I'll try to outline in the credits as much as I can on the contributions. Now, with that out of the way, let's start with the first of the 6 consoles we're covering, as well as the most popular of the bunch. With 4 franchise games, the Super Nintendo. The only system where I didn't complete every game for this review. Starting off mighty, you could say. Let's kick this off with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers for the SNES. The game is a side-scrolling beat-em-up on a single plane, much like Ninja Warriors. It contains the main cast of the first season, including many villains. Gameplay-wise, it's got a mix of platforming elements and the standard battle screens you can expect from this mix of genres. You can also morph, which is done automatically throughout each stage, and once morphed, you can perform special moves referred to as bombs, provided you have enough energy. The game also includes the popular Megazord battles in a few stages as well. Presentation-wise, the game lives up to the Super Nintendo standard of quality, with the graphics, music, and sound all being excellent. Honestly, there isn't much to say that hasn't already been said 100 times about this game. It's fantastic, and a must-own for any Super Nintendo or Power Rangers enthusiast. Even if the Pink Ranger somehow changes genders when she morphs. Not that that would be a bad thing, it's just kinda weird that the girls look like muscle-bound guys after morphing. Moving on. Next up we have the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie game, which is a sequel to the previous game. The gameplay improves greatly on the previous title as it now adds a second plane of movement, and co-op. The gameplay is still a little different than your standard beat-em-up as you use the shoulder buttons to change planes. Other improvements include being able to morph at any time, provided one player has a built-up full power bar, and passwords replaced by shared continues. Sadly, the Pink Ranger costume still looks like a color-swapped Red Ranger. Either way, the movie game on SNES is an even better game and comes with the same recommendation as the last one. Now for the only game on the SNES for this review I have completed. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the Fighting Edition. Let me ask you a question. Are you the type who doesn't really care for the standard Power Ranger battles and prefers the Megazord battles? Well then this is the game for you. The Fighting Edition is a fighting game that consists of just Megazord and giant monster battles across the 2nd and 3rd seasons of the show. You have a variety of Megazords and monsters to play as, and it's a really fun fighting game with fantastic presentation in the visual and audio departments. Sadly, this game doesn't really have a story mode, but there is a single player mode, which I suggest you avoid if you're not a seasoned fighting gamer. Hell, I am, and I refuse to play it again for this review. So while I have no recorded footage to prove I've completed it, I've got one word for you. Cyclopsis, Cyclopsis, Cyclopsis. Take on single player if you dare, but don't say I didn't warn you. Fun fact. Did you know the developers of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers The Fighting Edition will go on to reskin the game for yet another robot fighting game on the SNES called Shin Kido Senki Gundam Wing Endless Duel? Yeah, they turned Megazords into Gundams. Well, ain't that a cool piece of information? I bet your life is now 10% better for knowing that little tidbit. Hard single player aside, this is a fun fighting game and worth a few bucks for some Megazord fun with friends. There's one more Power Rangers game for the Super Nintendo, and to be honest, I really wasn't going to mention it because it's not a Mighty Morphin game, but it's close enough, and I don't know when I'd ever get a chance to talk about this, so it's Power Rangers Zeo Battle Racers. All you need to know about this game is it's Super Mario Kart with Power Rangers and shitty controls. Honestly, that's what it is. And look at this, I came in 3rd out of 4, and I still beat the race. Sadly, this is your only option if you'd like to own a game based off Zeo, but I wouldn't bother. Stick to Super Mario Kart. Alright, that does it for Super Nintendo. Now on to their 16-bit rival, the Sega Genesis. And let's start off with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. This game is another fighting game which includes both Ranger and Megazord battles. The game plays much like a standard fighting game with fast-paced combat, special moves, and multiple rounds. The difference here is the first round is the Ranger battle, while the second round is the Megazord battle. So if you're playing single player, you can't lose a battle. The game is quite difficult until you figure out one of the many exploitable special moves. My favorites are Zack's Spin Attack and Trini's Dagger Dive. The sad thing is many of the special moves are difficult to perform, especially when many of them need up as an input.
You know what happens? You jump.
Regardless, the game is pretty good. It's worth it if you can find it on the cheap. Next up is the movie game for Genesis. This one is surprisingly good, a true hidden gem. It's another beat 'em up like the SNES games, but it's more of a traditional beat 'em up. It's really fun, especially in co-op, and it actually has co-op Megazord battles. And the soundtrack is 16-bit renditions of the official soundtrack. Take a listen. That's freaking awesome. The game drags a bit, and the story does this weird flashback thing, but it's well worth a look. One of my personal favorites from the bunch. Now for the only game on the Sega CD, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It's a button prompt action game. Well, that's a stretch. The gameplay is as follows. An episode of the show plays, and you press button prompts. So basically, it's QuickTime events the game. Why do I feel like this is where the trend of making Megazord battles into QuickTime events came from? The game is pretty simple, and even if you mess up the button prompts, the video just keeps playing, so it's pretty pointless. I may have lied at the start of this review and said it was only Super Nintendo games I didn't complete, but I actually didn't play this one through either. Like most Sega CD FMV games, you might as well skip this one and just watch the TV show instead. Available on Netflix and DVD from Shout Factory. Let's keep the Sega train going and move on to the Game Gear. This one is basically going to be a double feature because the Mighty Morphin and movie games are both running on the same engine and are basically the same. They're both brawlers mixed with fighting games for a strange hybrid genre. They both use the inputs for Hadoken and Maximpu Kick for the special moves, and they're both hard as balls, with the movie game being a little more balanced. That last battle in Mighty Morphin against Cyclopsis took forever. My main complaint is the games are a little too fast-paced. However, I blame this more on the Game Gear's awful D-pad. Seriously, why a concave D-pad? It stabs your thumbs! For portable games, they're fun and short, and oh yeah, they got 8-bin renditions of that Ron Wasserman soundtrack too. Neat. Now let's move on to Nintendo's handheld, the Game Boy, and look at the Mighty Morphin game. It's a side-scrolling beat-em-up like the SNES game, except this one's pretty basic. The main issue I have is the difficulty this time is based on how basic the graphics are. The character models are about a third of the screen size, making it very easy to get hit by things you were trying to avoid. Not only that, the screen crunch is so bad, you often can't see what's coming, so get used to Rita laughing at you. Also, is it me, or do the Rangers' walk cycles make it look like they are holding in a piss? Even for a Game Boy game, it's kind of lacking. It's short, so it does exactly what it's supposed to do, which is to be a little time waster. Also, the stage colors change based on what Ranger you choose, so that's kinda cool. The movie game for Game Boy, on the other hand, while also a side-scrolling beat-em-up with large character models, fixes a lot of the previous game's problems. It's much more fast-paced, the control feels much more responsive, and while a harder game, the challenge feels less controlled by the limitations of the system and more on legitimate challenge. And holy crap is this one hard. Even with the constant health and power-up drops, and the ability to morph as long as the power bar is full, regaining health back, it's still a ridiculously hard game, especially that damn drill thing. The color's based on Ranger Chosen Returns, and the soundtrack, while not a remake of the Wasserman tracks, is its own original thing, and it kicks ass. Overall, it's a worthy entry and one I recommend for handheld fans.
Yo man, what the fuck? Handheld games be my business.
Sorry man, but you haven't made an episode in like 10 years. I wasn't gonna wait around.
Well, maybe I just been playing my comeback.
Sure you have.
Man, fuck your ass.
The last game on our list is actually a new game, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Mega Battle for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. I'll be covering the PS4 version as that's the console I own, but from what I understand, both versions are about the same. Mega Battle is a beat 'em up in the classic sense of one, with tons of moves, local co-op, and so much more. It also has some modern elements such as a level up system with choose your own skill trees. The game even takes on an alternate story similar to the classic TV show storylines, with a new twist. Sadly, the gameplay is a little lacking. For the most part, you're fighting the same enemies over and over again, mostly putties, Nasty Knight, etc. Not to mention, these levels are way too long. Each level consists of 3 sections that span multiple screens. It's super easy to get bored, and it took my brother and I several sessions to play through it. In terms of the full length of the game, it's not that long, but they knew how to make it drag and drain you. The Megazord battles are also disappointing. They start out great with a Jurassic Park arcade-style shooting segment, but then turns into a quick-time event like many Power Rangers games have done before. For $20, this is a game lacking a lot of polish. It's a fun game, but I say save your money and wait for it to go on sale for $5 to $10.
Anyways, guys, that's gonna do it for Power Rangers games, at least in the Mighty Morphin era. I plan to eventually cover the plethora of other Power Rangers games from the other eras, but I'm a bit rangered out. So, regardless of how I feel about the new movie, I hope you get a chance to see it, and I hope you enjoyed this review. If you'd like, you can leave me a comment down below on your thoughts on the games and the movie. Smash that motherfucking like button, hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content like this, and don't forget to follow me on my social medias. Thanks again for watching this episode of Zero's Maverick Hunting, and may the power protect you.